So I'm going to apply my next set of wraps. Now again, there's going to be some tools that I find very, very helpful. One of them is Jamberry's rubber cuticle pusher. This is kind of a godsend. I've used mine a lot, so it's quite flexible now. But this is so nice for pushing back your cuticles as well as applying pressure to your wraps. I have a pair of tweezers. I like to pick up my wraps with tweezers. I'm not very good at getting the wrap to stick to my orange stick or my cuticle pusher. I'm going to use some manicure scissors. These are some really good quality manicure scissors. They work really well on the wraps. I'm going to use a file. I'm going to use a buffing block. I'm going to use some cuticle remover gel. Now, I have something that they call invisible cuticles, which means just above and beyond the little bit of cuticle that you can see, I have skin that grows out onto my nail as well, and that prevents my wraps from sticking properly. So I'm going to use some of this before I really get started. You can use base coats, either their strengthening base coat or their smoothing base coat. I am actually not going to use either of these today. I like to use a metal cuticle spoon or cuticle pusher, and this I use in conjunction with my cuticle remover gel so that I'm not ruining my plum rubber cuticle pusher. And then because some of the wraps don't fit my nails perfectly, and I actually like to save the smallest ones to cut up for my daughter, I very often need to trim my wraps, and I use cuticle nippers to trim that wrap once it's on my finger to get that perfect fit. And then the magical item, a bag. This is a heavy-duty Ziploc bag. I've used it quite a few times, so it's pretty wrinkled at this point. But this is going to get those wraps to stick and stop those tips from lifting. And of course, a heat source. I've got my Jamberry heater. It's going, keeping me nice and warm on this slightly cool, but not too bad, March day. And then after I've applied my wraps, I'm going to apply some cuticle oil or some hand lotion to make sure my hands are well taken care of. Okay, so here we go with application. I did forget to mention one item that we need, and you absolutely need to use it in order to get a good application, and that's rubbing alcohol. So the first thing that I do, I'm going to show you on one nail and just one nail so that you don't have to sit here forever. I'm going to show you on my pinky here. So the first thing I do is I take my cuticle remover gel or my cuticle remover. It can be any kind of cuticle remover. You don't need anything fancy. I have yet to receive my Jamberry. Jamberry just came out with a cuticle remover, and once I get that, I'm going to give that a shot and see if I like it as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of gel along the sides and the base of my nails. This cuticle remover gel is supposed to sit for at least 15 seconds. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let it sit for 15 seconds. Once it's been sitting, I'm going to take my cuticle spoon, and I'm going to just rub the side of my nail right down by my by the edge of my nail, as well as push my cuticles back and rub the nail all the way around the edge there. Now what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that there's no skin or invisible cuticle along the edge of my nail, and that's what's going to prevent your wraps from sticking. So if you have problems with bubbling along the sides or around the cuticle, bubbling or lifting, I would highly, 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 highly recommend using a cuticle remover gel. So once I've applied that, I'm going to take just a piece of paper towel and I'm going to wipe off the excess. So now that I've removed those invisible cuticles, I'm going to take my cuticle pusher, my plum cuticle pusher, and just make sure those cuticles are well pushed back. I don't want them getting in the way at all for me. I'm going to go and wash my hands at this point because I don't want that cuticle remover gel to be sitting on my hand for any longer than necessary. So I'll be right back. Now I know which size fits which finger. I know that the second wrap in, it's a little tiny bit big for my pinky, but because I want this one for my daughter, I'm going to just trim it down afterwards. So I just slide my scissors underneath the wrap and I just snip, just like that. So that's all ready to go. Now before I apply it to my nail, I actually want to take time and prep my nail. So I'm going to take a buffing block and very, very gently, I have pretty weak nails, they layer pretty easily and they get damaged pretty easily. So I'm going to just very, very lightly buff that nail. I'm then going to take a cotton swab. I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol on it. Again, rubbing alcohol is very, very important. And I'm going to give that a good wipe. I'm really going to give that a good wipe if I'm going to be close to where my cuticle is, because that's where I pushed that skin back. And so that's going to be where it's the most oily. So nice good wipe. So that nail's good to go. It's still a little bit wet. I'm just going to give it a quick dry. Beautiful. I want to avoid touching the adhesive side of my wraps, because the more I touch them, the greater chance I have in getting oil on that adhesive. And if I get oil on that adhesive, then it's not going to stick very well. So this is where I deviate from the instructions given by Jamberry to apply your wraps, because I'm going to apply this wrap cold. So I'm going to get nice and close to my cuticle and just gently lay it down. I'm not pushing it down at this point, just taking a look at it going, yeah, that's pretty centered. It might need just a little bit of an adjustment. There we go. And then I'm going to take my rubber cuticle pusher and my heater. I'm going to heat the wrap up. Let's pull this into view a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to heat the wrap up. Heat, 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 heat. And the wrap's kind of curling around my nail a bit. And then I take my cuticle pusher, and from my cuticle, I push right down the center, right to my tip. I'm not even touching the sides yet. I'm just giving that center a really good push. And then I'm going to heat one side. And I'm going to give that side a push from the center down the side of my nail, using the tip of that cuticle pusher to really make sure that nail wrap is well seated onto the nail. Now we don't want it touching skin, and it is touching skin a little bit on this side, but I am going to fix that. That's what I use my cuticle nippers for. Same thing on this side, from the center out to the side, out to the side. Giving it some good pressure. Again, I've used this cuticle pusher so much now that it's so soft and flexible. There's a possibility that my daughter has chewed on this one as well. So once I've applied lots of heat and pressure, I'm going to take my trusty manicure scissors, and you can see how much excess is on there. I'm going to trim that excess off nice and close to my nail without cutting my nail itself. I'm going to throw that away. Now again, because it's touching my skin and I don't want it touching my skin, this is where I take my cuticle nippers and there we go. So that's that side. At this point I'm going to reheat it and push down those edges a little bit more, because they always end up lifting a little bit when I do that. So I'm going to push down that edge, I'm going to push down that edge. So looking pretty good so far. Very pretty. I love it. So the next step is what we call the baggy method, and this is going to be where I take a bag, I'm going to wrap it nice and tight around that nail, and I'm going to put that nail in front of the heater. And this is just going to apply lots of pressure all over that wrap, particularly at the end. If you have issues with your tips lifting, this is a trick for you. So lots of pressure right through the baggie. Looks pretty good. Oh, I'm loving this wrap. And I'm going to do it once more just for good measure so you can really see. So nice and tight around the tip. And then I apply lots of pressure with my other finger. And then I'm going to let that cool, and I'm going to do the rest of my nails, and I'm going to come back to you guys. I'll see you in a minute. I've only got a couple of last steps, and the first one is to file off the excess tips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nail file, and I'm going to take my pinky nail, because that's what I've been working on with you guys. And I'm going to take the file, press it to my nail, and go straight down. I'm not going to go up at all. I'm just going to go straight down at a 90-degree angle. You guys can see that the wrap is starting to peel off there. Here, let's see if I can get it in focus. There's a little bit of wrap starting to peel off. So I'm going straight down. I'm not going side to side, and I'm not going up at all. So 90-degree angle, pick off that little bit of corner, and there we go. So that nail is in essence done, but I am going to do two more little steps. The first one is I'm actually going to take my file, and I'm going to go not a full 45-degree angle, but a slightly less than 90-degree. I'm a little bit of a scratcher, and I do find that I tend to pick at things and use my nails as tools. So this helps to protect the tips of the wraps by taking off just a little bit more wrap and leaving just the tip of my nail exposed. So again, just straight down. I don't need much pressure. I'm letting the file do the work, not my muscles or lack thereof. And I'm just going to file off, paying particular attention to those corners. So at that point, I've done the 2 files. Now I always do 90 degrees first and then the slightly less than 90 degrees, and that's so that I'm not taking off too much wrap and causing any excess stretching or tearing of the wrap. Then the very last step in applying the wraps is I'm going to re-wrap that tip. I'm going to stick it back in front of the heater, really focusing on the tip this time, not as much on the cuticle. Lots of pressure all over the nail, and ta-da! All done. Yay! So I'm going to do that to all my nails. Okay, so my battery is about to go dead, so I'm just going to finish up with this hand. Now again, if you have problems with your tips lifting, the baggie, that's going to be your absolute last step before finishing up your nails. That's going to help tremendously with the tips that lift. And if my battery goes dead now, I will talk to you guys later. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below. I will put my webpage and my email address in the description below, so make sure to check that out. And if you want to, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing different tips and tricks and application techniques and removal techniques and what are Jamberry nail wraps, in case you don't already know. And I will talk to you guys later. I'd love for you to follow along. Talk to you later. Bye.